Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I know. This is like total fodder. We've had almost a whole show's worth of banter.
We have. I feel like it's been misspent.
Oh, sexy lady. Okay.
Open Gangnam Style.
It's happy holidays. We're into it's full on. I mean, I know it's not technically December yet, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling. Do you know how I know that we're here? It's because of my my Starbucks. If you order one of the fancy drinks, they give you a little card, a little punch card type thing with little sticker ornaments. And every time you order a fancy drink, they give you a little sticker. And they do that in the holiday. I want to say December, but not the holiday. And then they give you the free fancy drink. And I just filled my first card of the season with fancy drinks.
I don't think my Starbucks does that.
What?
I know.
Rise up, son.
I'm going to start complaining. I don't think we're close enough to Washington.
You think there's a certain sort of orbit? There's a certain orbit around Coffee Central that
it's the mermaid Christmas orbit.
All right, I have one thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about this Skyfall.
Ah, yes.
There are a bunch of movies that I have totally failed. I've had other stuff going on this week, and I have totally failed on my duty as a cinema goer, and I have not yet seen Lincoln. I have not yet seen Rise of the Guardians. I know you said that this one has a lot of heart, that I should totally see this. I have not seen that, but I did see the Skyfall.
Excellent.
And you totally teased me last time. You teased me. You made fun of me. And you left it kind of out there, and now I've seen it. Shall I talk about it?
Tell us.
Only briefly. First of all, I sort of bring it up because I got this email from our dear friend, friend of the show, Kurt. A friend of the show, Kurt Sifford, who's been a follower of the movies we have been following for sure. And Kurt wrote about that he was really, really upset about Skyfall. In fact, he wrote this in his introductory email, which was, I dare say, a tome. Saw Skyfall yesterday. Warning, do not read this if you hold it sacred and really like it and would be pissed off to find reasons not to like it. Smiley face.
Smiley face.
And then he writes a lot. And near the end, he writes, actually, so far, as I'm writing this, I'm convincing myself that this is, in fact, the worst Bond movie I've seen. But then again, there were all those Dalton Brosnan ones. So that's fair.
Maybe he should just stop going to James Bond movies.
Well, I'm wondering if that's not the case, or just see Moonraker over and over again.
That would cure him of all of his ills.
I actually quite liked Skyfall. I felt like it was two films, and I felt like there's the first half, which was kind of the cheeky acknowledgement of how this is not going to be a Bond movie, and all that was hyphenated. And then there's a second half where you get to see a little bit more of the heart and the spirit than we usually see of this character, and I really, really liked that. I loved, I loved the risks that they were taking with Bond as a character. I loved the way they handled Bond sexuality in this movie. I loved the way they handled him getting just beaten up. Mostly, I loved the way they illustrated how this was a film about a system that totally fails this man, and yet he keeps coming back. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to watch. I was sad to see Judi Dench go, but she really had to go. It was. I don't know what is that.
Oh, she really had to go.
I'm sorry, Grandma had to
Judy.
go. She went, but I also thought she went in a really good way. I felt like that was I felt rewarded at the end of the film, and not sort of starved and kind of upset. I just felt like it was all the pieces kind of came together in a really interesting way, and I really liked it. The thing I didn't like the most was the horrible slow motion stunt with the steam shovel on the train. I felt like, are you kidding? That was not Bond. That was Austin Powers.
See, that seemed more Bond to me. I mean, I was just looking at some of the old James Bond movies, And that's straight out of it. Like that cheeky silliness. I mean, Thunderball has him get into his car as he's escaping these guys shooting at him. The car won't start, so a little panel raises up to block the window so they can't shoot the window. And then the two exhaust pipes turn into like hoses and hose the bad guys down.
Okay, all right. You're right. But those things happened in normal space-time. And in Skyfall, that scene where that shovel's coming, there are guys shooting at him with guns that are presumably not made or of sort of Nerf material, and that shovel is moving at a snail's pace. I mean, there's no way that he could be in the cab and turning the thing. It's happening so slowly. Like, I felt like this is torture. Somebody just shoot the guy already because it's torture. This is a movie. I think what they've done with the last, particularly Casino Royale and Quantum Solace, they've made everything move faster. They've made Bond faster. They've made the fights faster. They've made the chases faster. And this was an area where it was a major stunt that I thought was really kind of poorly executed. But overall, I quite liked this movie. I don't know if I would rank it better than Casino Royale, which I think really still stands as my favorite to date. But it was, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did too. I'm glad you saw it.
All right. That's all I have to say about that. Have you seen anything else worth catching up on at all?
I saw Life of Pi, which was fantastic.
Oh, see, there's another one, man. I heard it really takes some time to process that.
It was a film that I watched and days. I've been stewing on it and deliberating it and really thinking about a lot of the things that go on in it and wanting to go see it. I really, really liked it. Great, great film. Beautiful film. Beautiful story. Definitely check it out.
Oh, excellent. Excellent, excellent. I need to. That's one of my wife's very favorite books. I need to make sure she sees that with me.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, so we got some trailers.
We got a few little trailers to watch.
Let's talk about just a little bit of site news first.
Definitely.
Where can people find you? Let's do that.
They can find me at Soda Creek Film on Twitter. They can find me on Facebook, and of course at facebook.com/movieswelike and rashpixel.tv.
Rashpixel.tv. Yeah, that's pretty much where everything's going. We are catching up with all of the lists and the everything that we need to do with that. So we've got so much old news and so much of the errata and sundries of old shows that we are filling in a lot of blanks. So if you're listening to some old shows and you think, gosh, I wish I had a list of Andy's favorite Tinkerbell movies that have been released direct to DVD, that list is now published on the site.
If everybody had that in their hip pocket everywhere they went, the world would be a much happier place.
Yeah, amen to you, son. Amen to you. And we also have, because sometimes we make up words. We now have the Movies We Like glossary is now live, and you can hit here and understand great terms like Morgan Freeman used as a verb. And you'll be able to know what it means to have a Benini night. Or you'll know if you got the Spielberg spank. You'll be able to understand these things if you go and browse the Movies We Like glossary. So make sure you head over there and check that out. And I'm Pete Wright on the Twitter, and mostly that's probably the easiest way to post to us at the show directly. That's all I have to say about that.
Alrighty. Well,
all right. Trailers.
So what trailer do you want to talk about first?
Bad Kids Go to Hell.
Why? I knew you were going to pick that one. Oh,
I don't. Oy. I honestly don't. I only want to say that because it's such a genre mashup, the horror Breakfast Club mashup. You got to go watch this trailer expressly so you don't have to go watch the movie.
And you really don't have to go watch the trailer. Oh, just read the title, revel in the title. That's all you really need.
It's another in that sort of long list of obvious titles where it really kind of gives away the punchline. These are in fact bad kids, and you know where they go? I'll give you 3 guesses. First 2 don't count. Okay. Let's see. The next one we wanted? We got to talk about the Pacific Rim.
Yeah, a buddy of mine posted that on Facebook, and there's nothing in it. It's just a teaser that in no way ties to the movie without you realize, knowing what's going on, being on the inside. And I wasn't on the inside. I was definitely on the outside, and I'm like, what is this? Like a Godzilla sequel? What is going on here? Or is San Francisco being invaded by a giant monster?
Well,
sure enough, no. It's done as real news footage, and it is a giant monster destroying San Francisco. But yeah, it's a teaser to Guillermo del Toro's new film, and it's not Mama.
No, because he's only presenting that. I don't know if you
That's
heard.
right.
It's only a presentation. Yes, alien attack threatens Earth's existence. Giant robots piloted by humans are deployed to fight off the menace. This is I have wondered. This is like Robotron, right? I mean, this is like.
Oh, I was thinking Robotech.
Robotron,
Robotech. It's all the same.
It's all that sort of. I was not a huge follower of the Japanese kind of manga style giant robot thing.
Yeah,
but that's what this is, right?
That's what it looks like. Yeah, it's people piloting giant robots to fight off giant monsters that rise up from the ocean.
Have you, and most importantly, one of the major stars is Ron Perlman. And you've got a hit when you've got Ron Perlman.
Well, he's a Guillermo man.
Did you, have you seen the names of the actual characters in this film? Because this is how it's a Robotech thing, because their names are always, this is so perfect. For example, our protagonist is Raleigh Antrobus.
Right. And then there's Stacker
Pentecost. Hannibal
Ron
Chow.
Perlman, of course, is Hannibal Chow.
And don't forget Charlie Day, the fantastic Charlie Day, who, if you are not a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, shame on you. This is a fantastic show, and Charlie Day is actually in this, and he plays a guy named Newt Gottlieb. So I'm pretty excited about this movie. I'm very excited to see what they make of it. You can find the schematics of the giant robots if you want to truly nerd out. You can just search for the blueprint for the Crimson Typhoon, I think, is the one that's that you can find most easily. And so you can check out the blueprints that are floating around the net and see what these robots are actually made of.
Everybody should check that out.
I'm not going to lie to you. I spent time looking at the robot blueprints.
You had to put down your Klingon. What's the Klingon ship called? See, I just killed my own joke there.
You did.
The Klingon bird of prey.
I wasn't going to rescue
engineering book, right?
I have been too busy working on the community project to rebuild the Enterprise D in Minecraft. That's a thing.
That's the important thing.
That's a thing. You think I jest? I do not jest.
This is what the 47% do.
I just work in Minecraft. I'm a knowledge worker, and I wait for a handout. I wait for my Starbucks freebies. Yes, I would like whip.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
All right. So what's next on your hot list? What do you think of this Jack the Giant Slayer?
Well, the new trailer looks interesting. I mean, there's definitely more story. It looks really fanciful. I enjoy the feel of it more than the last trailer. The characters are just real over the top sorts of thing. Ewan McGregor is this, great, crazy, very over brave sort of knight. And I don't know. It looks fun. I can't imagine, but I am sure I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I kind of feel, I feel like of the list of trailers that we need to talk about, this is the one that I most understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go down this list of trailers, there's Pacific Rim, we've got some others that we're going to talk about, and I have no clue what they're about. This one I get, and so I'm going to sink my teeth into it. I know.
There you go.
I know a beanstalk when I see one.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to hang my hat on that one. It looks good. It's like another in the line of, let's take the old stories that were always so great in our head and remove all the magic by putting them on celluloid. I didn't mean to sound so bitter about that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Jack. I wonder if there's any of the music.
What music?
Sondheim.
Oh. I was thinking of
the
Mickey and the Beanstalk music. Little different. I'm still stuck in my Tinkerbell land, okay?
Oh goodness! All right, so we've got that. What do you think about what else are you hot on? Of
the only other one I think is Mobius, and this. I don't know what to say about it. It's a wacky little French English movie. Writer-director Eric Rochant's film, starring the artist himself, Jean Dujardin, and Tim Roth, and Cecily de France, and Emily Decaine. So I don't know what to make of it, other than in great detail they describe how a Mobius strip works.
Yes, they do, and they caress it. There is some caressing. I'm a big fan of this Tim Roth. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but he's a pretty talented guy.
Yep,
this Tim Roth,
little Timmy.
Yeah, I really like what he does. It's and I think he just brings a really interesting character to the screen whenever he is restrained in any way. You just watch. You want to see acting? You watch Tim Roth get held back by other people.
That's right.
There is acting. And so I'm very excited about this. But like you said, I mean, really, it's mostly the trailer is mostly describing how to touch a Mobius strip.
Well, and it is a teaser. So to be fair,
you are teased. And so if you're into making paper, you could go from here to the Super Hexaflexagon videos on YouTube. Go look them up. And you will love things that you can do with paper strips.
And then we can watch some origami videos, and we can wear our magic paper hats.
100 cranes on wire. And then we have the other teaser that is the other obscure teaser that we have to talk about. This, I didn't even know this was coming until the good and kindly Sarmento posted this to us on Facebook, that in fact our not yet best friend Shane Carruth, who is responsible for the fantastic aneurysm-inducing Primer from 2004, is coming up with his next film. It's called Upstream Color, and Slash Film has 3 teaser images from the film in which you see Amy Seimetz and Shane Carruth hugging one another in a bathtub. You see some actors looking at each other intently, and that's really the gist of it. So if you can get what you need to get out of those teaser images, then you are better off than we are. The actual synopsis of the film, here's what we have. This is the back of the cereal box. A man and woman are drawn together, entangled in the life cycle of an ageless organism. Identity becomes an illusion as they struggle to assemble the loose fragments of wrecked lives. Break.
I think I would get as much out of that if you read it backwards.
Lives wrecked of fragments loose, the assembled to struggle. No, see, it'd be better. The way I've read it 4 or 5 times now, and I keep wanting to replace organism with orgasm and wrecked with wretched, and it actually means the same thing.
And then you end it all with Oppa Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style. All right, so that's what we've got. I am actually very much looking forward to this film. January 2013, it's going to hit Sundance, and it may actually hit a theater near you.
It may.
And you too will see the illusion of struggle and wrecked lives.
I have a feeling it won't be hitting a theater near me.
No, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, so that's good. So now should we talk about our film of the evening?
We probably should.
It's good. What do you think of this film? We're starting a new series.
Yes,
you already
tonight,
dropped it on Twitter. I note.
It
was supposed to be a big surprise.
Well, we dropped it last week.
No, we didn't. You said no. It was a big secret. Right?
No, we talked about it.
For real?
Didn't we?
No, was I actually on the show last week?
Well, I thought we did. So
well, anyway, the cat is out of the bag. We are moving on to the lovely and talented Luc Besson, French director, French writer, director, producer, extraordinaire. And we're going to start with his. What I think I think this is a great film of his, Nikita, and I love this film for both its. Oh gosh, how do I say this delicately? I love the premise of the film. I love the performances in the film, and there is also a lot I really don't like in this film.
Good. Okay, then we're on the same footing.
This is a film, and I think I'm going to be cursed with this. When we talk about other Besson films, we're not doing many of them. We've got 3. This one, 2 others, and then we're putting it to rest. And I'm not sure if we will ever revisit this series, but I think there is stuff to get out of these films, and I'm going to be struggling with this the same way when we talk about these next films too. These are films to love in pieces. And I think these are films that they come in bites, and every sequence, every framing, every little bit of structure, I think has something sort of delicious in it. Whether in Nikita in particular, whether you're looking at his really interesting use of camera, and some of the similar techniques that we see with Spielberg in illustrating what's going on in the scene by what is going on out of frame. It really ends up building, I think, a really neat sense of intensity around this film that I think is great to watch. I also find the character and the performance of Nikita enchanting. I love watching her on screen. So, there's a lot, I think, as we kind of pull apart this movie this evening that I'm excited about. I know you were hesitant to talk Besson.
Yes, I was and am, but I'm excited to. I'm excited to revisit his films and discuss them in more detail than I ever have.
Likely ever would.
Exactly. No, you know what? Okay. Luc Besson's films never stick with me in a way where they're memorable in good ways. And I know some people really love his films, particularly Leon the Professional, which seems to be like this film that everybody holds in really high esteem. And I always struggle to find what it is that people about his films. His sensibilities are just not my sensibilities. And I think that's really what it boils down to, is I just think that he sees things and he sees things in an interesting way, and he puts things in his films in an interesting way that I have a hard time latching onto. And I guess some people just have an easier time latching onto it. Nikita, I everything that you said, I agree with, mostly. I think, and I'm not quite sure how you say her last name, but the lead who plays Nikita, Anne, is it Parillaud?
I think Parillaud.
Parillaud. Oui.
We
Nikita,
love the French. We love the French.
I love her half the time. And the other half of the time, she drives me crazy.
Is it the first half that drives you crazy?
It's the first half and the end.
And the end?
The end, well, okay. Specifically when she finds out that the cleaner's coming in, and all of her kind of interaction with the cleaner. When she is over the top, she's way over the top, and I have a hard time really getting into that. It just seems so over the top that it just seems crazy talk. It's just like crazy lady.
All right, so we're talking about, as long as we're talking about Nikita, I think you are absolutely Right. I don't have as much of a problem with that because I think that is endemic of Besson's style, right? I mean, this is what he brings out of directors. I don't see her any different than the other ancillary characters, with the exception of Checky Cario, who is awesome and stone cold, pretty much consistently throughout the film. Everybody else is on this sort of emotional, the portrayal of their emotional sort of context is a roller coaster, right? And I don't necessarily see that hers as any further out of whack than anyone else.
Well, she's certainly the most extreme. And this is something that runs through all of his films that I have a hard time with. So I can't pin it to Anne playing Nikita the way that she performs it, because he has characters like this in every film that are always so over the top, and I just can't get into them. Mm-hmm. And it's tough for me trying to like Nikita when she's just so loony. And but I looked past that, and I acknowledge, she's supposed to be 19 years old when we start. By the time we're at the end, it's like she's probably 23 or 24. So I mean, some time has definitely passed. She's grown up a little bit, but she's still in a system that is a pretty crazy system. This whole we're going to put you on death row and kill you. Oh, we're not really. We're going to make you a government spy, but we'll still kill you if you're not going to cooperate. It's this is why the French don't have a world power like bigger countries, because this is how they collect their spies. They use death row inmates to turn into super spies.
So the problem with the French is incentive. If we're going to boil it down, I think that's what oh my goodness.
We don't have anyone who wants to be a spy for us. What can we do? Well, these people are just going to be killed anyway.
You know what? I think we should lower the bar. It is our problem is recruitment.
Oh my. No, it's I'm just going to say this actually has in no way any bearing, I don't think, on Luc Besson, but on spy films in general, because it seems to come up, but there always seems to be a spy that they have that they can incorporate into a mission that is a perfect lookalike for somebody else.
Yes.
Like the guy at the end, the ambassador or whatever. The other guy who they conveniently have is an exact duplicate. I mean, it's played by the same actor. It's so convenient that spy films they always have the perfect lookalike.
Well, that's part. Yeah, right. That's part of the. That's part of the gestalt. You have to have the lookalike, and when you don't, you make a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's right.
That's part of the thing. So okay, so I find this actually interesting because from a story perspective, that's what I really like about this film. I really like the idea of taking this woman this girl who was already, from the perspective of the system, trash, right? She was a drug addict and a, violent criminal. And the bar, so to speak, for this agency was that she was remorseless, right? Yep. At the time, and so they thought she has all the skills that she needs to become an assassin. We'll just pretty her up and teach her how to put on lipstick, and then we'll be able to use her to serve the state. And I find that a really compelling and provocative story. I like that. I found myself really drawn into that story. And what you're saying is it wasn't believable. You didn't buy in from the beginning.
No. I totally buy into it. I mean, it's the story. It's the nature of the story. I buy into it. I don't have a problem buying into the story. I just find it funny. Like when I step back and I look at it, it's pretty nonsensical that this is how they actually recruit people. But in the context of the story and sitting down and watching it, I totally get into it and I buy into it.
Okay. All right.
So all I'm saying is really just her personality is what I have a harder time getting into.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? Because I find she's a mess in the beginning, and she does a lot of that screaming You know, the screaming right before she stabs the guy with a pen, and he's just trying to be nice and call her cutie. That doesn't go well, and so she does this screaming thing, and so she's a mess. I found her transformation really interesting because when you see her on the street, she looks really old, right?
Yeah.
She looks just disastrously aged.
She does. She looks to be just a horrible mess. I mean, you can tell that there's a beautiful woman under there, but I mean, I thought they did a good job of portraying somebody who was a junkie who really had taken themselves to a place that they just weren't caring for themselves anymore, and were a mess. We're just like, we're aging beyond their years.
Right. And so this movie, let's see, what was this, 1990?
Mm-hmm.
And she was born in 1960.
Right. So she was 30 years old.
She was 30 when she was in this film, and she was playing a 19 to, as you say, 24-year-old or so. And I thought she pulled it off really well, because as soon as they started to pretty her up, and you see kind of what's underneath all the age over the course of the months that she's in kind of training, she, you start to see kind of the youth come out and the innocence come out, and you get this. What I think she really captured for me is the magic that comes with this woman learning how to be a woman, which she had never been able to do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a certain sort of societal skill of presentation, and I thought that was kind of a magical transformation. I thought she really did that very well.
She did, and Jean Moreau as the trainer, like the aged trainer who trains her how to be a woman, has a great scene with her, a couple great scenes with her, and she brings a lot of power to the film and to all of her scenes that she has with Nikita, and as she transforms her. There are some great moments there, and I really like all of that. I think it's really solid, and I think it's very interesting how you see her transform, not just to becoming a woman, something that, when she's looking at herself in the mirror and she's putting on lipstick and she's seeing herself in a way that she's never seen herself. I mean, they are powerful moments. And what I find really fascinating about the film, and I think they're my favorite moments in the film, is every time she feels like someone is finally, like she's having a moment where somebody's appreciating her for being a woman,
yes,
or they're celebrating birthday, or they're happy with her, and so they give her a vacation. Every time something is happening, all of a sudden, her feeling of strength in that feeling that she has of feeling proud of who she is, and proud of, it's always taken away and crushed when she realizes that it's all just part of the game. And in every instance, it's she's only there because she's working.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, and I think that's what you get out of the second half of the film, right? Is this experience where you see her at what you think is her very lowest, right? In the opening sequences, they've just destroyed the drugstore. You think she's at her lowest. She's just killed a cop, and she goes to jail, and then they put her on death row, and then they presumably kill her. And you think, well, she's clearly experiencing her very lowest. And through the process of this training, we are led down this path of believing that they are somehow redeeming her, that they are somehow rehabilitating her into this kind of something that is accepted in society. And the lesson of the film really is, as they're taking advantage of her, they are destroying her even further, right? Yeah. And you have to, you sort of have to ask yourself as you get into the third act, would she have been better off had they A, killed her, B, not discovered her in the drugstore and let her stay on the street? You know what I mean? Like there is that sort of question, because now, before she was just like this like hot mess of youth energy and rebellion, and society knows what to do with rebellion, but then she becomes a sort of a moral and ethical outrage as an assassin, and there is a very sort of a different set of rules that go along with how you deal with that.
Yeah, and there's some interesting write-ups on her role and the role of I guess women in film and these different theories that people have of what they're doing with her, and by turning her into this tool, she becomes a just something for men to watch. It's fetishizing her, all these different things, but at the same time, by giving her these tools and teaching her these things, she is finally, and I think it's interesting. There's this interesting article somebody named Jennifer Proctor wrote up. But there's an interesting article she wrote up about how in the end she's her last mission, she has to take over and dress up like the man, and so she's finally gone from wearing the slinky hot dress when she's doing her assassinations to finally all of a sudden now she's wearing a man's suit, and she's sneaking in and she's passing the role as a man, and she walks right past the guy's assistant or somebody, and it's only the dog who actually is smart enough to sense that it's not her its owner, and she's kind of gone past this point where she's this tool for them, and she's kind of moved into a place where she's much more powerful, because now she's represents a lot more than just this woman, slinky female killer that they've created, and to a point where now it's almost like she's able to get out, and she's able to disappear from the film, and she's able to break free.
Yes, I agree. Well, okay, so then you get into what I have sort of trouble with, and like I said, I like a lot of what Luc Besson does. I find myself sort of attracted to some of his vision, but here we have this character that he's sort of created in Nikita, and she has this really, as we've discussed, this very complex transformation and this sort of, relationship with society that gives us a lot of, wonderful things to talk about. And then you lay sort of the Besson transparency filter on top of her, and I have a hard time not imagining it all as being sort of a vaudeville number. Right? Like he hasn't quite gotten out of the stage of actually moving the characters in a diorama, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all just sort of they're all almost kind of caricatures of themselves. Like you can hear his voice. Oh, I'm Nikita. I'm going to kill you now. And that's kind of a problem I have, where this movie I think suffers as a result of the Besson treatment. That it just seems kind of too cartoony. Am I alone?
Yeah. No. The Besson that always bothers me in his films is we get these really silly, over the top. That's what I was saying earlier, and just not as well as you did. But things come across in a very I hesitate saying lampoonish sort of style.
Yes,
but
that's the
word.
Like
you said, I think cartoony. That has a little better vibe to it. Comes out in the third film that we're going to be talking about.
Well, and the third film that we're going to be talking about, spoiler, Fifth Element, I think it works. To me, it works very, very well, because the whole set is cartoony. Like the whole experience is vaudeville. It's the whole thing is it's kind of a lampoon. It feels almost as a send up. The production is a send up of sci-fi kind of stories, and I think that works really well for me. In this case, I find myself, sort of falling in love a little bit with the characters in this film, and I feel like I am let down with some of the execution of the comedy.
Yeah, not just the execution of the comedy, but I also feel that some of the execution of his own script just it's not. To me, it doesn't make sense, and this is my problem with the end and her reactions to things going on in the end. What do you mean? Like when her reactions? How so? Well, her reaction when when they're getting ready to pull this final mission for the government involving this ambassador, I believe. And she gets a call just as she's knocked the guy out and is ready to put her double in for him. She gets this call that they don't have the right password, and the surveillance team just found out. And so all of a sudden they say, oh, well, we have to keep going. We're sending in a cleaner. And so what? They go from 6 months of planning this mission to all of a sudden, okay, we're just going to send in a cleaner and he's going to kill everybody, and that's going to be the end of it all.
It was exactly my problem. Why didn't they just send in Leon to do the job in the first place?
Well, and I don't understand the whole thing with this cleaner in the first place. It's kind of, I don't know. It's as if he's also supposed to kind of kill them, and I don't know. The whole thing was really strange to me, and she's so upset that they're sending in this cleaner, and the cleaner's just coming in and just doing things that it's just like, it seems like there has to be an easier way to finish the mission rather than just kind of kill everybody and just move on. I don't buy into that whole thing. It just, and then it seems as if they're blaming her for everything being all screwed up when it's these surveillance people who have kind of dropped the ball and they didn't get the password for her.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I think that it makes the final action scene, that final sequence, as she just sort of falls apart. I think that's a good way to put it. That it just was not executed well. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it detracts from the strength that they have spent the last hour and 30 minutes building this sense of strength in these characters, that they can pull off these complex jobs and they can do what they need to do when they're and they can deliver in these high pressure situations. And here we have a clumsy failure, and that reads to me more as a failure of script than a failure of not even a failure. I think they could have pulled it off. It seems
I don't
like the
think
Besson...
they could have. I mean, it's like in the last the Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, when the mask machine all of a sudden botches and screws up all the masks. It's like them saying, "Oh, well, you know what? We don't have any masks. Okay, well, let's just go kill them all, and we'll just take what they have, and we'll call it a wash and move on."
Well, no, it's sort of it's sort of similar in that they said, "Oh, the mask thing broke. I guess we don't need the masks."
Well,
because there was
right,
that point.
But they were thinking about how they can really accomplish the mission still.
Yeah.
These people were thinking like, okay, well, we're not going to accomplish the mission. We're just going to go kill everybody. And then she has to convince the cleaner, no, we can finish the mission. We got to go do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It all seemed like just kind of poor writing to me.
Yeah. And then it follows up with this bit in bed with Marco and Josephine, and it is I think a really beautiful and sensitive moment as he sort of comes clean about knowing, and they have this kind of bedside chat while she's stroking his face, and I found that a very sensitive moment, and I thought that was really well captured. This kind of the way their eyes worked. I thought their performances were really great. I had the same reaction when she was having the sort of one-sided phone call with Bob, that ended with her inviting Bob to dinner. And I thought that phone conversation in particular was just really artfully captured with the, sort of the dominance or the weight of the shot is across the bottom of the frame. And you're really looking at the top of her head and kind of her hand on the phone, and watching her, you feel like you're sort of eavesdropping on this conversation as she is trying to open up her life and finding a way to share some humanity that has been, not sure if it's been injected into her or removed from her. And so she's trying to kind of reclaim some of her life. And I thought those were just two really beautiful moments that are otherwise kind of punctuated by sort of cartoony action that I think detracts from the humanity that they had built.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I completely agree with you with all that. The only thing that I have to say about the beds, the final scene with her and Marco in the bed, I have no idea how he all of a sudden knows everything. Like, there's no logical reason for him to say, I've known all about it. I know about the tailings. I know about the whatever. He's like, how does he know all of this? This is a world of secret spies, but her grocer, boat builder, fiance knows all of it.
Well, he's very intuitive.
He's really intuitive. You've been quiet. I have a sense that you're a spy.
That was in the director's cut.
Yeah, that's silly. But going back to more of what you were saying about the specific look.
Yes.
I think it's interesting that there was this, French film movement of the 80s called Cinema du Look, coined by French critic Raphael Besson in the late 80s, where he looked at some directors from the 80s and then into the 90s who really represented kind of this look, this cinematic quality and pop culture vibe over anything more serious. And he lumped Luc Besson into this category along with a couple other directors. And they had this really slick style and focused on young alienated characters that were represented marginalized youth. And it really fit into that. And you can definitely see how beautifully shot his film is. I mean, he made a gorgeous film. His use of colors throughout are stunning. Just the way that he played with colors from the beginning. I mean, it's a really gorgeous film to look at. And I think maybe it's true, this whole thing about how these directors really do struggle getting beyond the visual style. But I mean, he definitely does struggle with the balance.
Wait. Say that.
Creating those beautiful moments you just talked about with the goofiness of the comic scenes.
Say that again, though. How these directors, you're saying that these directors who are part of the Cinema du Look kind of movement. It's not even a movement. It's the category is that they are more concerned or sort of trapped in this in sort of the role of being the visionary and not the storyteller so much that's where they struggle.
Well, that's my sense of what this theory that this French critic was talking about is these directors who had a very slick style with how their films looked. And they had these young alienated characters, but as they weren't tapped into as much the strength of the story. That's kind of my sense of what this is. It's these filmmakers who kind of came out of maybe the commercial world, the music video world.
I the reason I sort of hook onto that is because that gives me that sort of gave me the language of what I was struggling with on this film, that these almost to a person, these actors were at least in the key roles, sort of Anne Parillaud, Jean-Hughes Anglade as Marco, Checky Cario, Jean Moreau, who I thought was terrific as Armand, and obviously Jean Reno, are all, I think, more capable performers than the material they were working with.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so, but to your point, you're right. The production design and cinematography I thought was very, very strong. And I think Thierry Arbogast is one of those sort of interesting cinematography and style. And I had not made connections between some of the books or some of the films that I really like of his and some that I really don't. I haven't seen very many of them. He's a Luc Besson guy. I mean, Léon and Fifth Element and that got significantly wide kind of an international release. And then we skip a lot that I haven't seen until we get up to, Wing Commander, Catwoman, Babylon AD, and Inseparable. And, I actually thought the production design, cinematography of Babylon AD, the Vin Diesel action juggernaut, was quite interesting. I really liked it. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I thought it was a beautiful piece of art. So I thought that I think it's interesting because I think they bring a really interesting look. he uses an awful. You spend a lot of time thinking that the camera work is done just by a guy crawling around on the floor.
Right.
You spend a lot of time, or by just children running around with cameras on their heads. No, get under the table. That creates a kind of a unique look, and I mentioned in the beginning that there's a sense of sort of what he chooses to make dominant in the scene, and there is a particularly interesting sequence during one of Aman's beauty trainings after Nikita has come to terms with the fact that she's going to learn how to make herself beautiful.
Right.
Where you're looking over her shoulder in a mirror, and the sort of dominant element is Nikita's face, but it's not centered in the frame. It's kind of off center and low, as many of the of the framings tend to be. The sort of most interesting elements tend to be low in the frame, and Aman's hand is like stroking her face, and then very, very slowly pulls away, and you don't even see where it's going. You sort of realize that it's kind of hidden behind the out of focus, out of field, actual head of Nikita, not the reflection that you're looking at in this mirror. And that sort of that pull away of Aman's hand, I find absolutely mesmerizing. As you watch Nikita try to learn to work her face as she's practicing the musculature on her face, and I find that just a beautiful shot. Like it's a poster. I want to freeze it. And I think I look at so many. We go through this process of trying to figure out what is the still frame for the website. What is the still frame we're going to use for this film? And there are so many of them in this movie. This is like a movie of stills. Like it is a whole movie of just really beautifully framed and beautifully architected just stills. That I just fall in love with them, and I feel a little bit betrayed as soon as they start moving in so many cases.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, that's really my problem with Luc Besson in virtually all of his films that I've seen, is I always feel they're so beautiful, and I always feel so disappointed by what he's doing with them as far as in the story. But you know what? Of them all, I think this may be one that I enjoy more than the others. Once I get past the things that bug me, like some of Nikita's performance toward the beginning of the film, and once I get past the atrocious music by Eric Serra, who is a Luc Besson regular, once I get past those things, I can enjoy a lot more of the elements of the film, because you're right, there are those moments that really stand out that you can latch on to. It's just you have to, unfortunately, dismiss a lot of the other stuff.
Eric Serra. Oh, man. So bad.
I feel listening to this, I'm like, was this popular? Like the popular French film score style in 1990, and it doesn't feel like it ever should have been popular. I'm sorry, but I think this music is so bad.
It is one after another after another after another. I mean, this is Subway, which again that was another one of those movies that I really was attracted to in terms of another. We're not talking about Subway, but it's almost the precursor to Nikita in terms of Luc Besson action film with the beautiful Isabelle Adjani and Christopher Lambert. And there's that great, he's swinging around that fluorescent light bulb. It's just, it is I thought that was another really interesting movie, and it's just, it's almost unwatchable because of the music. And that just struck me when watching this movie. And, we were talking about doing The Big Blue, which came immediately before Nikita. I was really struck by just how important a timeless score is, because none of Eric Serra's scores are timeless. They are absolutely dated, and it's really hard to listen to.
Yeah, it really is.
It's
really
it's
hard.
impossible. It's like it makes it almost more comical. I think, I think we could rescore this with other music from just pick a movie, and we could make it more, more powerful, more dramatic. I think the same thing. Go back and watch Goldeneye, and we'll talk about Leon, and you see the exact same thing. Fifth Element, same thing. They are absolutely locked to their release date, and I don't know why. I can't explain how that happens with his music. I can't even think of anybody else who gets so locked into their time like this.
I can't either, and I still find it hard to feel that at least the score for Nikita ever was locked into any time, because it just feels so bad. There's so many better scores in 1990 that I just can't imagine that people were actually writing music like this.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there are some elements there that are really difficult. I mean, I don't actually remember the score to the hit film Bulletproof Monk. He did that too.
That's a film I skipped.
Arthur and the
can't
Invisibles.
comment on it.
Not big on the lady. How about Rollerball, the remake? Did you see that? Big John McTiernan fan?
He had his day.
Chris Klein. You know that Chris Klein on roller skates. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
all in all, it got some kind of mixed reviews.
Yeah, it was really championed by Ebert, and I mean, he really, really loved this film, and I to its defense, I mean, it is an interesting story. The whole story of transformation of a junkie to an assassin is a really interesting story. It's he compares it to the Pygmalion legend, which it very much is a violent version of that, and it is really, really interesting. It definitely had its champions. It definitely had its detractors. It's not a film that found a big home in the United States. I mean, from what I see, it only made about $5 million domestically. I have no idea what it made overseas. I do see the production budget was about $7 million. I don't know. It says dollars, right? I don't know if it if it was francs or what. So I don't know. But
yeah,
it's kind of a cult film. Luc Besson's films really have a following.
Yeah, they really do. That guy's got he's quite the thematic director, but it's a film that stands up for me because of like I said, because of these bite-sized elements that I think are really both jarring and so just sort of cerebrally kind of pleasing. I love looking at it. I love the little moments. I love when she returns to Bob and she throws her back against the wall and says, "The window was walled up, Bob." I mean, that's one of the best little moments in the film for me.
Followed by his response, of course it was.
Yeah.
Really, that whole thing plays out so well.
Really
I love that whole sequence.
And we don't. I don't think we give kind of enough credit to Checky Cario, who is I think just fantastic to watch in this movie. I think he just plays the great handler, Uncle Bob. The guy, he's another one of those guys who has been in an awful lot of movies.
He really has. He's one of those faces that you recognize, but it's hard to place until you actually start reading his resume. You're like, oh yeah, he was in that. He was that guy.
Yeah, he is that face. He is that face. So I think that this is a fascinating little ensemble piece, but almost more for what it kickstarted than for what it is. What's your impression of Point of No Return?
I really didn't like that at all. I much prefer this film to Point of No Return.
I thought it was much worse, and the music was much, much better. I like, there was
that's not hard.
That great sort of Nina Simone hook, I mean, they just crushed Hans Zimmer and Nick Glennie Smith did the music for Point of No Return, which was the American remake of Nikita.
The American film.
Yes.
Because then there followed several television series.
Yes, and now, the film, the television series Nikita is very, very different. This is the one that stars Maggie Q, the Asian action.
Well, that's
star.
the new one. There was also one that came out in the 90s that I think was closer to this rather than the direction that they've taken with Maggie Q's version.
Have you seen any of the current version of it? It's in the 3rd season right now.
I have not. I never had interest in it.
I watched a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that Maggie Q. I think she's, she's good.
She kicks butt.
She kicks butt. But no, I didn't. I haven't stuck to that one at all. So anyway, I remember this film fondly. I remember it, and I think it's as long as you're talking about Luc Besson, I think this is at the top of the list.
I know I gripe about it, but I do enjoy the film quite a bit for what it does have in it. And like I said, I think it's so beautiful, those moments where she's finally feeling like she's, like Bob is showing her some kindness and, giving her a vacation and things like that. Like all of those moments when she finally realizes the reality of her job, I think that she plays those moments so well. I really enjoy every time that phone call comes in and they ask for Josephine, are just beautiful. And I think there are so many great moments in that. And unfortunately, I just feel like there's some moments that just don't hold up.
The one moment that I think that I'd forgotten or repressed was the moment when she was actually killed. When they actually get out the needles and inject her.
Oh, sure. Right. Yeah.
I found that a really powerful moment to watch again. And I don't know why I think it's too fast. Like my critique of that sequence is that it is so fast. It goes by so fast. I feel like, they have this wonderful pleading, screaming, please don't let it end this way. Just a little bit longer. My mom should be here. Did you tell my mom? We told her. And then you don't actually see what they're doing with her arms. It's another one of those where, again, the interesting weight of the frame is pushed so far down and her head is just like coming up like she can't breathe, like she's trying to get air. And you see are these just sort of big sort of upper arms as they're holding her arm down, and what they're doing because they've set you up with the with the needle coming out of the little briefcase, but you don't see any of it. And I think that's just a haunting execution. I think they do that really well, and I think she hits just the right tone. And to directly contrast with that, once again, her performance in the grocery store I think is fantastic, as she's following around the that other woman, just again sort of learning how to be a woman. I just see this puppy with giant feet and big ears just kind of clumsily wandering through and kind of buying all the yogurt and beans on the shelf.
Yeah.
She's so good. I think she's so good.
Yeah, I think for the most part, she really does a good job. It's just, some of the moments toward the beginning and the end that are a little much for me. Okay. But, like we were saying, I think I may end up attributing a lot of that to how Luc ended up choosing to direct it.
I'm very excited to talk about this movie next week because it's been several years since I've watched Léon.
Mm-hmm.
And my memory of it, I remembered Nikita as being sort of comical. I don't remember Léon as being comical. And I remember it being just a different sort of tone. And I wonder how much of that was just me, really, sort of fantasizing about the lifestyle when I was a kid, kind of a thing.
Right.
So.
No, I hear you.
I got nothing else.
It'll be a good one to talk about. I am looking forward to watching again. I'd love to say that I'm going to watch both the U.S. release version and the international release version, just so I can refresh my memory as to what the differences between the two are. I don't know if I'm going to have the time, but I'd love to think that I will.
Well, does that mean we should be talking about which version we're going to watch, each of us? Should we watch different ones?
I guess so. Or, there's probably plenty of places online that tell you what the differences are. So,
I want to throw caution into the wind. I'm going to roll the dice.
There you go.
I'm going to go pick some low-hanging fruit. All right, I got nothing else on this movie.
I will say, whatever problems anyone has with this film did end up influencing a number of filmmakers in the way that that Luc Besson was using the style and just kind of the elements that he had within the film, including the idea of Victor, Jean Reno's character, the cleaner who comes in toward the end, which ended up being an inspiration for Mr. Wolf, Harvey Keitel's character in Pulp Fiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
thank you, Luc Besson.
That's right. It still is important to note that whatever you think of how he's directing his films, he definitely is still somebody that made a mark on cinema, and other people were looking at and taking note.
Yes, it's a great film, great imagery, inspirational stuff. I'm very excited to watch this again and continue our series on Luc Besson. What else? Anything else you have to add before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. I think I've hit everything. So I think we're good.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we're very much looking forward to catching you next week as we really drive home the French comedic stylings of Luc Besson.
Oui.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we've been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy, at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus, our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.